So I'm glad that you're here. And if you're not here live, you're watching the replay. Thank you for watching at your own pace. Enjoy it. Take a pause, grab some coffee, tea, if that is the thing that you enjoy. I know I enjoy tea quite a bit. So, yeah, let's jump on in here a little bit about some of the work that I've done in the past always explores mixed media. So I enjoy photography. I really like playing with illustrations and augmented reality. So if you've had a chance to explore some of that in my socials on Cyn Lagos on Instagram, I like to showcase a lot of my progress as I experiment and also my process. I think that's really vital for me to just have a bit of a library of everything that I love getting myself into. So it's been really, really fun in that space. So I wanted to show you a little bit about my work here. This is my socials. If you follow it, it gets showcased here on my website. And you can see here, this is going to be vital because I do find myself exploring video editing in a vertical format for the all very demanding social platforms now that are very specific to video. So in a way, I've learned photography through the social platforms too. I navigated learning photographic techniques during Instagram's sort of like early years, and it was really fun. I got showcased by Instagram at some point back when we were a little small group, and that was very different because it was very photography focused. So now that we have a lot of video content and a lot of video expressions going on, I find myself exploring that medium. And in a way, it's been great because I've challenged myself to learn different techniques of how to tell a story in less than a minute. And that always feels so gratifying because it gets to be this complete thing. And it doesn't have to be a gigantic project. So that has been a great way for me to explore uh, video editing. Oh, that looks kind of funny there. Okay, there. So, for example, looks really cool, right? Yeah, so I think I end up doing a lot of different expressions. So I have a podcast, and that has been a lot of fun to also translate it uh, via a vertical video short, and that has been really interesting. So I recently got a nice surprise in the mail, and I thought I'd share with you how I create a promo video showcasing how I feel about this or how excited I am about getting this special package in the mail. And going through the storytelling, it's going to be an interesting part of things, and I'll talk through it. So let's jump in here on Premiere and see our progress thus far. So I'm in Adobe Premiere. You might notice that my layout looks a little bit different. I was working on a duo workspace, which I like to call Cyn Duo Workspace, right? I have two screens, so that's kind of how that ends up. But I'm gonna go into the vertical section here. And that's going to give me a nice little preview here on my right hand side. Once it comes through, I can just drag it over. Let's see, vertical workspace. Let's reset this. Let's reset the assembly. That looks good. Workspaces, vertical. I think a good workspace would be, I think I changed my reset to save layout. I changed my vertical without noticing. So let's see. Save as a new workspace. No, I don't want to do that. So let's do all panels for the sake of everyone being able to see what you usually see from your point of view. So hopefully I don't get lost here because I'm so used to a different format. But nevertheless, what you might want to learn from this vantage point that we're looking at Premiere here is that all of these panels are modular. So you can move them however you wish, which is why I find myself moving it to my other screen. So I have more of an expansive viewpoint of all my work and it's not all crammed together. I do have a pretty big screen, so it kind of helps out. I've edited out of my laptop and that was rather interesting. It's eventually you forget about it. It's not that small, but you get used to it. Okay. So you can see here the progress I've made so far. So I have so hopefully you're able to hear that as well. I'm trying to translate that over. So one of the things that I notice is it does help when filming to have a bit of that audio feedback. At first, I used to kind of remove it altogether, but having that audio feedback makes it feel more real time. So I've kept it here. In fact, I actually used my Rode mics to make sure it sounded very prevalent. So I have it here represented in my audio section, my audio bars, my audio tracks, right? So that's what I've had so far. You can see that we have, let's see. How we're doing here. What's going on? My dog needs attention. She's being really special right now because she usually likes playing with this toy I took away from her. Okay, back to this. So yes, you can see the intro here. I'm just gonna mute this for a second. All right, you can see how it enters. Let's see. You can see how it enters, and then I am in my table with an overhead shot. I introduce the box, and then I do a little bit of this motion of opening the box, and I love that little sound that happens there. That's also very helpful. All right, give me a second here. What do you want, Toby? What happened? Bye, mister. It's so funny. All right, so my dog is no longer being the star of this show. All right, I'm back. Oh, it's so funny. If you have dogs, leave a comment and let me know what you've named them. It's especially funny to call them a very cute name when you're like, oh my God, you're so much work. Okay, so I've got myself the intro here. It was actually rather easy to put it together. However, you just have to kind of think of this as you're filming. So my thought process here was this clip and this clip, they're the same clip. I zoomed out on the motion. I went from here, zoomed out, I zoomed in on that moment of pulling the tag. Okay. So that can vary the same exact clip and just give you a little bit more variety, even if you don't record all that much. All right, so let's get to the fun stuff because these clips are cool, whatnot, but I did a little bit more than this and I did a little bit more B-roll. So let's go into my folders here. So in my projects, we're gonna find all of my files. Now I've got a couple files running here, which I like, organizing them specifically with folders beforehand, because this usually gives me a bit more organization. So I can just drag and drop that B-roll folder, and you can see it's named and everything, and it's all the files are stored within it. And I just love that so much because it just keeps, I think the organization element is such a key part of editing. And I learned that the hard way, let me tell you, because it's all self-taught. It's quite incredible how many things you learn by trial and error, but it's kind of worth it, right? So let's see here. All right, looking good. All right, so let's look at this B-roll we got going on. So double clicking here, I have another panel. We have our source preview. And like I said before, I can choose to put my source preview next to my project preview also. So I can, it's modular, right? That's kind of cool. So then that one on the left becomes whatever was there. So let's leave it like this for now. All right, so let's look at this file. Okay, that's that unboxing file still. All right, I think I meant to put that somewhere else. I'm pretty sure the general. Let's go to general here because I really don't like hearing the scrubbing. So I updated my Premiere program recently, and it was incredible to have to do all my shortcuts again. And it kind of taught me a lot about how many shortcuts I actually created that sort of made it my own, which I really liked. Where is that? Keyboard. I think it's right here. Gosh, I don't remember, and I don't want to spend all that time doing this. I usually see it so many times, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this right now. You can skip this part once I've resolved it. Okay. I think it's here. Play audio while scrubbing. Who likes that? It's like a terrible sound. I do not like it. So let's remove that. It kind of makes sense when your audio is really vital to what you're editing, your in and out points, but I don't think in this case it's important. So we're gonna look at some of this B-roll. So yeah, what came in the box, y'all? What came in the box? This is kind of one of the best parts. So at some point, actually, see, I have some of the really cool B-roll. So I got a really nice gift from Google Pixel. the Google Pixel Fold. So exciting. So exciting. And I wanted to put together a really nice reel of me playing with it. And especially here in my studio, it just looks rather interesting with the color palettes. And I just needed to show how beautiful it is. Look at that. Love it. So I do know I want to be able to have a part of the unboxing that I may be missing here, which is around here. Let's let that load for a little bit. Looks like it's having a hard time. What happened there, my friend? Okay, the preview's being weird, but I think it still works. I am running a stream, so that might be it. Ooh. Let's say it starts right around here. I think the source clip is just fine. So let's drag that clip over, and I'm just gonna click and drag on the screen because that drags the audio too. So let's look at it. So now I have my settings at 1080 by 1920, which means the clips that I've filmed, which are much bigger, they're 4K, are going to look a little bit zoomed in. So I might want to then scale them back down. But I can do that in a few ways. You can do it manually by reducing the percentage in your effect controls, right? We can go in here. Or we can go into the clip, into the timeline, and right click and select. Okay, so there's a few here. Scale to frame size, don't do that. Set to frame size, much better. So the difference here is, look at this dial right here, scale to 28%. It went from 100 to 28, which means we can reset it whenever we want. And we have a way to modify that back. However, if I do scale to frame size, it stays at 100%, but now it's really small. Not entirely sure what the benefits of scale to frame size would be in this scenario, while you would actually want to reduce the size completely. Now it's defaulted to that size at 100%, which essentially just made it tiny. So that's not helpful. We're not going to be able to expand at 100% without making it look pixelated. So we want to stick with set to frame size in this case. Now I've created a shortcut for set to frame size because I do use it so frequently, and I'll show you where to find that. You can go to keyboard shortcuts, look for set to frame size, and you can see here have Shift Command C. Shift Command C. Sometimes Alt Command C feels very intuitive to me as well, so I might switch that. But essentially, I can just do Shift Command C and it does it immediately. Now, another thing I want to do here is change the rotation to 90. Now that's not working because it's upside down. Let's do minus 90. 28% is far too small. I want it to be a little bit bigger here. And what I learned in my previous clips is that my lines here are not quite straight. So I might want to rotate it not at an exact 90, but a little bit off. So it looks a little bit more straight. I think 86. Let's see what 86. Oops. Minus 86. And those are the little details that go into this that you don't think about. We just watch social media and that's that. But there's a lot of little details that go into it. Worth appreciating, right? So making sure that there's no black areas around it. Now that I rotated it a little bit, that's going to be important. Okay, let's continue here. I can choose to scale it in and then zoom out in this clip alone. So let's watch the clip. Right, so it opens Cool. There it is. That's me trying different transitions. You can transition from that blur into that the scene, or I can do something. This was funny. I can do something like it spins, so it's an action to the moment of interest. So there's different ways of transitioning from one scene to the other. So from here, I really like the dramatic effect of leaving a black frame here. So it goes from this to that. Right. Okay. I do need to find an in and out point. So let's see if this reset. It didn't reset for us. That was... Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's see if we can find a better in and out point here. What do y'all think? I think this spinning was pretty cool. So it goes from opening it to here you are in the spinning. Okay. Since I already brought it into my timeline, I think I didn't quite spin it hard enough there. I do like the black frame there. So I already have it in my timeline, which means that I'm going to have to cut within my timeline. So how would I go about that? That's a pretty important thing. There's a lot of styles to this. You can hit the letter C and find yourself that the razor tool, which you can also find it here on the left tab, and then just click on it, right? And then that cuts also the audio track. Or, much like I like to do, I love doing the letter Q to cut anything from the playhead to the left. So that should be functional when I choose the track, right? So you saw that didn't work. Make sure to choose the track you want it to affect. Boom. That looks great to me. I'm going to hit Shift Command K. Ooh. Funny thing, that pixel fold is being real loud right now. Another one that wants to be the star. So let's see if I can put this in. I've had a pixel for a long time. I've had pixels always, and I still find myself like just feeling like it's brand new. Like I have to find new ways of making it my own. So do not disturb. Very important right there. Okay. So let's do this. And voila. That looks great. I can do the spin. I can let that be another part. So I'm going to hit the letter Q again to delete everything from there. From the playhead to the left. Awesome. I think from before it even ends, I'm gonna let the illusion that it continues, right? Q. Oop. Didn't mean to do that. Shift Command K. It cuts both without using the razor tool. Oof. That was cool, but like right before it hits the plat. A few tracks before, right there. Shift Command K. I kind of like that a little bit better. So in fact, I can remove that little guy right here. I don't think that spin was quite as impactful. So I can delete it and click on the empty space and hit backspace. That's one way to do it. So many cool ways to do the same thing. But let's explore them as we go. All right, we need our starting point. So definitely right there, I think. So Q again. Q as in cat. Just kidding. Not Q as in cat. That does not make sense. Q as in quiver. Q as in quarter. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm actually going to expand this, make sure it's the same clip. And I'll delete the rest. Up to there where I have a bit of a zoomed in to be able to open it. Right there. Q. All right, so how's that playing so far? Oh, what happened to my spin? Hey, don't rob me from my spin. Okay. There you go, that's better. So let's see if we can hear it here. Ooh, hopefully that wasn't too loud, y'all. Okay. So now I'm feeling good about that. Let's see how we're doing on our stream. Our stream is looking good. All right, all right. We're doing great. So I'm gonna be here for like the next 40 minutes or so, maybe. I'm not sure. Not too committed yet. All right. So that replay is really getting to me. It's a little bit too loud. So here's the thing we're going to do. Here's something I like to do pretty quickly as soon as I get started. So let's look at this audio track right here. I'm going to hit that tilde to be able to expand my my timeline, and I'm gonna double click on this section to expand it, and we're gonna, let's see, rename this audio track and make it main audio. All right, so now we know it's called main audio. Let's get out of here and look for the audio track mixer. Google Pixel. Okay, that was a funny name. I misspelled that clearly. So let's look for our audio track: audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, main audio track. Main audio track. So now we know our main audio track is this one right here. A lot of people miss this little arrow up here on the corner. I think there should be a better placement for it or something more visible, but nevertheless, it uncovers this entire set of things that we can explore. And on the main audio, I just combined those two words. Okay. So on the main audio, I'm going to click on one of these and go into filtered and EQ and find parametric equalizer. Double click on that. And let's do loudness maximizer. No. We want to make sure it has a pretty generic low pass. I like that one too. So let's see how it sounds. Okay. I think that's better. And let's close that so that applies that. And then I want to change something else. Trying to recall here. We add a denoiser. Double click that. Select a light denoise. Okay. And now what we're going to do immediately is lower that volume. So what all of this does is I'm actually affecting the entire thing. So I am not just adding this setting to one one of the clips, one of the audio clips, it's affecting the entire track. Isn't that amazing? So you don't have to do it to each and every one. And so I think that's way better. So as you're reviewing, you can see there that our volume is a lot lower. It's not going red. So I might lower that again. We want it there, but we don't want it to take up so much. Okay, right when it ends, Command Shift K. Command Shift K. Because we want to be able always end on a motion, and that usually makes it feel a little bit more seamless. So there I was sort of struggling to open it. Now, I can cut with Shift Command K, or alternatively, right there. All right, we want it there. Cool, that's where my playhead is. Now, we learned that Q removes everything from the playhead to your left. What about to your right? So we have, for that, we have W. And you can see it removed everything from the playhead to the right. Nice. So that's another easy way to make it work. Let's watch it again. The dramatic black. Oh, it looks like there I was struggling to grab it. I don't want to spend time on that. So let's cut right when I grab it. There. So Q. Perfect. That's looking much better. Anything else here that we might want to see? Yeah, the actual pulling the box open. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. So yeah, we want to be able to showcase when the box is actually open. So right there. Boom. I, the letter I, open. O. And we're going to start dragging those in a little bit faster now to start to see how that would work. Make sure it's in the right audio track. I do not know why I have so many audio tracks when I did not intend to. That happened at some point as I was setting up, so I can delete the track. Delete and delete. All right. Great. So now, so something I don't use quite often is that comma to be able to insert a clip at the playhead. You can use it. I don't find myself using it quite often. So let's do, we can do that, or we can just start here. Let's see. So we're opening it. And then we're going to start at I. O. Okay. I-O. That's looking good. Shift O to get back to the end. And then continue here. Start here. You can hear my wife saying, open it, like actually unfold it. I find it curious that it wasn't called the Pixel Unfold. I understand why. I think the unfold feels like a negative, or fold feels like a positive term. I imagine that's why. All right, so I like that part too. I think it's too long, so I'm going to cut with a W to the end. Now, before we move any further, I think some of these clips are zoomed in, and like we said before, we want to be able to set to frame, not scale to frame. So let's try to do that. Some of them are also flipped the other way around, so I want to be able to bring them to view. So I might have to rotate them. However, some of these kind of benefit from that rotation. I'm not sure if I might want to keep this one this way. Let's explore. So in the effects panel, we're going to start to see what we've got here. So this one. All right, this one I think I want to rotate. So let's go to Effect Controls, go to the rotation, and hit -90. All right, boom. All right, I do like this better. I think facing me like this feels like it makes more sense. Now, do I want it to be zoomed out? So I might say set to frame. So Shift Command C is what I had decided. In this case, the set to frame goes a little bit too far for me. So I'm going to just reduce it manually around there. So it looks like, I like that this is a zoom version, so I will do the rotation -90. And then this also -90. Now I can do something different here. Instead of manually writing -90, which I could, because it's just one more clip. Let's say I had 5 more clips to do that too. I will copy it instead. So copy those attributes. So you may be, I don't know why, but it's just copy, not copy attributes, it's copy. So hit copy. Let's assume it's referring to the attributes because it is part of it. And then I'm going to paste the attributes here. So I can directly paste these attributes. And I can choose which attributes I want to paste. So it says it's the pan rotation. However, there's another way of doing that too. So what if I choose to just go here to my motion where it was actually affected? That -90 belongs to the motion tab, right? So you can see here, they're all closed in. And so if I open the motion tab, it has within it a group of position, scale, rotation, anchor, anti-flicker, filter. So mine was rotation. So I can copy the motion and go to this one and paste that motion and it'll change it. So if you had all these different attributes that you adjusted to a particular clip, then you can just paste that motion track and it'll apply all of those attributes on scale, rotation, anchor point, any of those given groups, attributes are within that group will be affected. And that goes with any of these groups. So if you change the opacity and you have a particular mask within that, you just paste the all of those effects into a different clip and it should then take them on, right? So let's press play. Wowza. Okay, now we need a better clip. We can leave it with a bit of mystery there. Let's see. I like this right here. So I like the opening. There has to be a bit of a cliffhanger. It's what I'm thinking. So I may go here and actually open it and then move on to the B-roll. So something I ask myself quite frequently is if I can, should I build an entire story of this? Or can this alone be a nice teaser to post once? Let's go paste that motion again. Still in my paste. Rotated it. Perfect. If I can just use this as a teaser, so now I have more clips to post. Something to consider. Volume helps in maintaining engagement, but don't do it without a purpose in mind. So that definitely needs to be zoomed out. So what I could do here that could be really interesting is I can zoom in when it goes into this. So something that gets the effect done is to go into effects. Let's go to effects. Do I have that open? Yes, I do. Where does it live here? Since we changed our panels, I think it's right here. All right, so it's right here on the left-hand side. Let's open that up. I'm gonna move it here to, it's on the right. Let's move it to the left. Yeah. So my workspace was really important to me. I find it to be a bit cumbersome in the way that it usually comes. Everything's a little bit cramped. So I do find myself moving all of the different UI elements around to make it my own. And that's going to be really helpful for you if you find yourself a little bit caught up in too much information. Just use the modules you like and those that you use quite frequently and keep those on. All right, so let's go to transformation. I really hope this doesn't bug down my presentation, because transformation does tend to do that even when I'm not streaming and I have a beefy computer. So that's interesting about transformation. Be con cautela, with caution. All right, so video effects, transformation. I didn't write that right. Formation. Did we find it? Here you go. Transform. Here it is. And under distort, you're going to find transform. Got a little bit confused there because there's a folder called transform, but we're looking for the effect. So let's drag it over into our clip. Let's go to effects to affect that effect, right? So it's always going to live within effects. And in transform, I'm going to change this to particularly what we're looking for is to make sure it zooms out and it zooms in and does that nice blur effect. So let's remove use composition shutter angle. And we're going to do a little bit of a scale here. So we're going to use our keyframe on the scale. And actually, I want that keyframe to be all the way at the end. And I want this to start around here. So the effect will begin here. So around there. And at the very end, it'll zoom. Let's move it over. So it'll zoom like this to black. What do you think? Boom. So let's go. So one way to keep it from bogging down is to hit the letter I on your timeline and select a little sliver of your project previews, right? So let's do even smaller so we can see how that gets affected. You can see it's zooming in, right? But we don't quite see it. Let's hit that tilde to zoom in here. We can see our keyframes here at the end. I want to make sure they have an ease out and an ease in. So remember to flip those. Tilde again to zoom out of that preview. Great. Now we have selected a specific area of our timeline. This is going to be helpful so we can render our in and out points and see the effects. So let's do render effects into out. Great. And so you can see how that will work out. Boom. It zooms in. So that's going to be our transition point to go into our B-roll. So let's go all the way at the beginning and watch this so far. And I'm going to hit the tilde on our main section here. Let's watch it. Okay, perfect. Perfect so far. So I just love hearing those, that ASMR of the sound of unboxing. It just sounds great. I'm gonna make sure not to take away from that when I add my soundtrack, which I like adding directly on Premiere. I know we have music all over social media, and sometimes I find myself liking a few of them and saving them for future use. But if I can keep myself from using the platform as an editing source, I will, because it is a bit more time consuming. Although there will be times where I find it to be really easy on the go, so I do use it for that. But since I like being able to create faster and post faster, and I love my computer, I would much rather do it from here. This is our launch base, essentially. So I really like how that turned out, and that's gonna be our boom transition. Let's go to our B-roll. Let's head over to our B-roll folder here. Like we said before, we have our folders really neatly organized. Unbox, B-roll baby, and of course we have so much. So I started first with a little bit of B-roll kind of pretty early on in the day, and then I saw the lighting change at night. It just captured B-roll a little bit differently. And I think that looks so much better. Look at that. Right, so I have a few faves. I definitely have some that I feel like had a better focus, so I gotta be self-aware of that. I wanted to be able to translate some of my first impressions. Like, for example, I was playing with it and I found myself really enjoying the fact that habits that I often do is I love editing in Adobe Lightroom on the go. So now I have a bigger screen to do that with, right? So like I can just open it up and edit directly on here, which is so fun. And I want to be able to show that. Also, multitasking has been really helpful. So being able to see something on either screen is very helpful. And that's a game changer. I've never had a tablet for a phone, right? I guess all phones are essentially tablets, just tinier ones. But it is really cool being able to see my videos and how they display as I post them on YouTube, or being able to see them, see videos that I like to learn from on Skillshare. Now it's going to be such a game changer. So I wanted to showcase that. And so I got quite a bit of B-roll having those effects happening. So let's see here. I got a little bit of close-ups. My signature lav lamp being so awesome back there, doing these really cool effects. So let's see. I'm going to pick a few favorites. Oh, that I can hear the sound there. From here, and see how I go. Love that. I'm there and I'm like, hey. Oh, I kind of love that. Let's go here. I was able to see my screen. This is another cool feature. I was like, ooh, there I am. And that could be a nice outro. Yeah, I can see that being a nice outro. So let's see. So I have this thing called loop play, which I like to add here because every time it makes it to the out point, we're gonna have it loop to the in point. That could be really helpful when you're previewing, not so helpful when you're editing. So just kind of have that self-aware. So for example, like this, it's just looping the in and out points. So think about that. Let's see, that's gonna be my outro for sure. It's really cute. Okay. So let's find what else we've got here. So this point here, I really liked because it demoed me using it. And this is when I was discovering a lot of really cool things I liked. So things I'm looking for is, for example, I do see my face here, which is, I didn't intend to put my face in there. So it's not very intentional, but it is there. And I think now that I see it, I kind of like it. So it might be something I can show off. So before I move, it could be an O. That could be a little sliver of interest there. Kind of like that. I might introduce that in here. There's no audio for this. There's no ASMR, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to bring in the direct audio. I do like moments here when I'm opening it. So I'm not as smooth in opening it. I'm like a little bit afraid. Like, what is this gadget? Because, you know, you don't want to break it. Like, am I doing this right? There's going to be a point where it's going to be muscle memory. I like that. So maybe if I can cut microseconds of that hesitation I have there. So right there. That's way better. Bring that over. That might go in first. I like that I did a bit of a zoom, like a close-up here. Oh, I love that. That's really nice. Okay, that's another cool way of opening it. So, oh. So that a little awkward in the way that I open and close it, but maybe I don't have to show that part. I just thought about what would this look like if I did it backwards. So Command R brings up the clip speed and duration. And it also has this neat feature right here. It's called reverse speed. And we can reverse that speed. And it does it the other way around. Isn't that interesting? That could be a nice... So it looks awkward with the fingers there because, you know, we don't have sticky fingers to be able to bring it up like that. But if I cut just in the right point, you just get to see how it unfolds in a different direction. So I might go from that to that. Maybe from this to this. So not entirely sure on the order just yet. I just do feel like those are really valuable clips. So I might reorganize that as I go. I do find that all of these are a different essence because they were at different times of the day. I did record a lot of B-roll on purpose because more is more when it comes to B-roll. So I do find myself considering, like I said before, whether these are one single clip, or is it something that I can take advantage of in several examples? So several clips. Fingerprints. Something to think about when you're showcasing gadgets, because gosh, they're everywhere. Okay, moving on to a different clip. I think, oh, I'm clicking on the same clip. Let's go into one of these, which is ended up being some of my favorites. So let's show them off. So that is actually the intro you just saw for this video. So I'm gonna do this here, and maybe we can speed it up. I love that 360 effect. Stay tuned. Maybe we do the whole thing. I'm really, when I have no in and out points that are short enough, a good alternative, because we're talking about shorts, we're talking about reels, we're talking about spaces that are consumed in tidbits, right? They're 1 minute, they're 30 seconds. Most activations are 30 seconds, which is wild when you start to try to squeeze clips into that short amount of time. So if I find that there's a large amount in my clip that I enjoy, I might do an effect to it so I can showcase it all in a short period of time. So I'll bring in that entire clip. Let's make sure I'm not canceling out something else by accident. There it is. Okay. I'm bringing that entire clip, and what I'll do is, much like before, we'll hit Command R, clip speed and duration, and we're going to change this speed to something faster, something like 1000. And you can see, you're going to watch here, this clip, it's going to shorten. It's going to be squeezed in. Time is squeezed, and then so therefore the visual is squeezed as well. And so right now it's a little scrubby and like a little funny looking because we need to render our in and out points and go in here and render our effect. I'm just going to hit save there. Render our effects into out. There you go. Much better. So it's still not a full render capacity. You can tell because it's still yellow. It's not green. It's red. If it totally is it's going bonkers, it's not gonna render your preview. But we're streaming, so this makes sense. Okay. Nevertheless, that is a speed up clip. And so we can go from this to, wow, cool. So that alone, I feel like can be super neat. Like, what's going on? This is amazing. I am loving it. This is the result of all of this. I can be like, look what I got. I got something in the mail. And so this is when I start to, that sound. I hope it sounds, low for y'all, because if it's loud, that sound is not so pleasant. This is when I start to employ text, because including a narrative is very helpful. Okay, so it does feel like these set of clips feel like a different scenario altogether. So this might end up being a different video I showcase, right? So that's something to think about. So a quick little break here just so we can see what I'm referring to. So if I go into my Instagram account, right, /Cyn Lagos, /Cyn Lagos, not Reels, just Instagram /Cyn Lagos. Cyn is short for Cynthia. All right, you'll see that in my clips, I'll take advantage of long clips and try to cut them into a few reels. So at times, for example, this is a sweet wedding anniversary clip that I wanted to show. And I wanted to showcase this really beautiful time in our lives. And so this was a very small clip that is really beautiful. Let's play it with audio. But you see there, it's really short because that one leads into a clip I would then share much later, which is this one. Same song. So that's an example of how you can have a singular concept, and in social media, because the digestion bites are so short and small, they're a minute or less, you can actually end up cutting those into two different clips, and that is something I may do for some of these. So that's an example from combinations of photos and videos also, which is really cool. We're not exploring so many photos in ours at the moment, but I find myself doing that whenever I want to showcase a tutorial. In tutorials specifically, I think it's a little bit different. I do like squeezing in as much detail as possible. Have you ever had one of those moments when you cropped in camera and wish you had expanded your world of view? Well, now with the generative fill tool in Photoshop, you can. Hi, my name is Cyn Lagos. Let's experiment. Okay, we're in Adobe Photoshop beta. So you can check that out on your own, but you'll see that in some of them it does benefit from squeezing in a lot of information if you have the right cadence for it. If not, then it might feel a little bit abrupt, and it takes a little while to get used to it and get accustomed to it. It definitely was a particular fun challenge to tackle. I encourage you to try it yourself. Even if you're used to doing long form, I think just challenging yourself and telling a story in a short form could be pretty cool, pretty neat. So I think this one would be perfect to divide into two. So I'm going to include a bit of narrative here. So say, for example, I say, look at what I got in the mail. So let's hit Command T in my timeline. I am big on shortcuts. I think they are the best. If you want to be a professional in any space, you're going to find yourself using shortcuts quite a lot because time is very valuable in any career. So look what I got. Look at what I got. Okay, so let's do that. Come out here and select it so we're not in the text box, so we're now here. Let's move our anchor point to the center. Look what I got. That font is just not working for us. So let's go find a way to modify that by going to our essential graphics. Our essential graphics at the moment lives on the right hand side. Let's use our align and transform tool to align horizontally and align it vertically. Look what I got. Let's change that font to something cooler, maybe something like this. Reduce that size. Let's make it all caps. What do you think? Still don't like that font. Let's keep exploring. Okay, this looks much better in lowercase. I think in this case, it looks better in lowercase. Okay, so C, center align. Again, align it and transform, because once you center align it, it'll shift. Let's make that I capital. Look what I got. Look what I got. Maybe we do a little bit of an ellipsis to be dramatic. I don't just mean dramatic, I mean, you know, a little bit of suspense helps. So, look what I got. Okay, So you notice that the visibility is a little bit hard with the white. So what we can do here is go down under the appearance part of our essential graphics panel and go into the background. The background by default is at a 75% opacity. We want to increase that. And something I like to do is I like creating a background that has a little bit of style in it. So a little bit of a rounded edge. So you can see how that looks. Let's change that color palette and be a little bit more fun with it. So the colors in my studio are very purple hues, and I know I want to connect back with that. So it might be something to consider here. And if you have a brand palette of your own, I encourage you to do that, to use that. So I might do like a dark purple. I didn't like using purple for a while there, and now I really enjoy it because it looks so cool when you do space-oriented things. I really enjoy doing space-inspired illustrations. I'll show you a few in a minute. So look at what I got. That looks much better there. So if we were to, ooh, much better. Look at what I got. So the duration keeps going here. And then so here there's a lot of room for text. So I might want to then hit that tilde. Let's open this up so you can see. Right where the frame begins for the next clip, I'm going to hit the letter C to grab my razor tool and just cut that individual text clip. Right? So now we have two separate text clips, and I can treat this one separately and differently. And always kindly. So I'm going to change this to a header font. What am I saying? A header font. In the mail. Feels really iconic, like the mail. Also, something to consider, which I often think about, because as a photographer, I often think about things like this. I'm crediting photography, okay? Is the mail for you may not be the same mail for someone else in the world. So those iconic things do feel very much iconic when you live in a different part of the world. Something really interesting to recognize. I think about that a lot when I turn my camera to something that could be very casual for me, like that's not that special, but to someone else in the world it might be. So let's change this font to a different font. Let's find header fonts in my library. Let's see what I can find. That looks like a cool header font. I don't want a background. We have a pretty visible background in this case, so we don't need a background. We do want to make it bigger. And so in the mail, let's see. In the mail. Ooh, that was cool. I want to do something cool there, but I'm not entirely sure. In the mail. Right there. Okay. So in the mail, I still don't like this text. I think it's a little bit hard to read. Let's find something a little bit, still a headline font, but a little bit more solidified. In the mail. Oh, that one's a fun one. Of course, it's so close to Cooper, I'm going to choose it. Hey, there's some purple here. It's a fun purple. In the mail. Ooh, I like that purple a lot, actually. Let's duplicate this purple to this one here. Copy that hex number. And go back here. Select that background color. Paste that hex number. Sounds good to me. Look at what I got in the mail. So now we're in theme, right? So when I do this, when it comes in, I want to do a bit of a mask. It's not a complete mask. You'll see what I mean. Let's see what it looks like. All right, before I explain myself, let's go to the opacity. We talked about opacity, having masks. So these circles, these squares, that's what they are. So when you press the square, we have a mask. We have kind of an odd mask here. You can move each of the anchor points. I'm going to move this anchor point to the right. Right about there. Yeah, because that part I think I wanted to remain visible. You can also just showcase it like this. But I can tell this is at an angle, right? So I want to put this at an angle as well. So it feels like it was affected by the zoom in. Now, so far, it's just a window to our text. It's this way all the way through the clip. However, I want it to feel like it's being affected by the box right about there. So how can we do that? We're going to go here. We're going to move ourselves through the timeline slowly. And when I mean slowly, I mean by your arrows, your right and left arrows. So in that point of the arrow, let's go back a little bit. All right. So let's go here in our options. The mask path. We can do the mask expansion. The mask opacity, feather. Ooh, I actually don't want any feather. Let's remove that. So in the path, let's make sure it's there in that moment. When I move over here, if you don't see it anymore, by the way, that used to confuse me, just select the mask again. And there it is. We're going to do this, move it back around there. And then again with the arrow in the timeline. Oops, I meant to do it here. We're going to move in, select that text, select the mask, and move that over to around there. And then again, hit the arrow. So you saw earlier I didn't do that quite right, kind of lost myself a little bit. We want to be able to hit the arrow to the right or left inside of this section. So moving the playhead and then adjusting our anchor points to the right. I'm going to grab this anchor point. For some reason, I'm a little bit hungry. I think my wife and I are cooking later. We bought so many groceries. So many. We're quarantine ready. You know what I mean? So many groceries. But I'm excited because we have a lot of recipes that we're exploring. So anyways, I'm hungry. All right, so I think that's looking good. I don't know how far this thing goes. It doesn't complete the whole thing. That could be something to think about as I am recording. It could be something I can consider beforehand. Like, how can I complete it across the scene, across the screen? Go back to my playhead, play to the right, and now it's on to the next scene where I no longer want my text. So I'm going to shorten that so it no longer exists there, actually. So let's see how that looks like. This is really rather fast, but we can extend that. We're going to hit the letter N and move that over to the right. Open that text again so that it feels like it does a complete. Yeah, we're going to sacrifice that zoom out in this case, actually, and make sure I'm going to use the text much more. So it goes here and then it ends up around there. And then that's where it should stop. All right, bear with me. I hope this works. So around there. Yes, there. And then let's bring that back in. So I want it to feel like completely covered in that section. So we have a little bit of work to do on our mask. So we are going to reset around there, move over and change our mask, select our mask again, move those anchor points over, select that playhead, move to the right with my right and left arrows, right there, do it again. This is some TLC, my friends, some TLC to create those effects. And hopefully when you see the options or like the videos I share, you can start to see some of those effects taking a part in the way that you feel about the entire video. And it's just for fun, you know, it's just, you want to explore all the different possibilities. So I'm going to go here and let's see how we're doing. One anchor to the right, one anchor to the right. Yes. Let's see. Let's make sure I'm in the right. I moved the playhead instead of moving it with the arrow, which I think the arrows are far more accurate, and that's going to be more important in the way we work. So now here we can generally just do a wind wiper situation where I just sort of, like maybe it affected it that much, even though it didn't completely do it, cover it. Let's see how it plays. So select the letter I, select the letter O, and let's render that effect. Okay, so again, the caveat here is it doesn't complete the scene, but I want to create that effect nevertheless as if it had. So right before it's done, I'm gonna make it feel like it covered the entire thing. So on that last keyframe, instead of just going by that, the angle of the box, I'm going to go all the way and cover it. Oops, not that one, this one. And I'm just gonna go all the way. So let's see. I think that feels better. And I think I'm gonna even cut this a little bit shorter. Zoom that in. See all that space? You want to, time is so vital. That's why people call editing an orchestra, because it's just about the timing. And then that sound, that thump. Right there, I think it's even more. So hit that W, so it actually, you don't have to delete that space. It just resets. You saw that? Let's zoom in here. You see this space? Instead of doing this on one clip and this on the next clip and deleting this space, it works, but is it fast? No, and we're professionals here. We're striving to be professionals. So we have to have shortcuts, we have to have speed. And so W removes anything from the playhead to the right. And just like that, it moved the next clip over. That was easy, easy peasy. I think in this moment, I had my mouth open. All right, in this moment, I want to be able to say voila or something, wow, like an effect of, oh my gosh, look what it is. I finally know what it is. I guess you know the moment you see the box. So we might do something like that then, because up until that point, you don't know what it is. So that thump could be a cool way to introduce what it is. Like, yes, this is great. So how do we accentuate that narrative? We can use a couple things. We can continue with our text. So let's come over here, hit the letter I. Let's carry over this text that we formatted right at the start and just drag it over to that part of the playhead. So be like, whoa. Wow. Maybe we put just the letter, the word, wow. Wow. And then after that, we can employ some of our free assets on Premiere. And within Essential Graphics, we're going to browse our assets. So we have a few assets available here. We have your libraries, we have things that you've created before. So I have a lot of really interesting titles that I've created that I often use. And I have these beautiful little stars that I find to be very authentic to some of the graphics I like to use in all of my platforms. And so I thought it was perfect that it was already accessible via their library. So I downloaded it to mine, and it's free. So I'm going to bring that in, just drag it over. It comes with its own animation. And so when I click it, you saw that? That was so cool. I'm going to go in here. Wow. Boom. You see that? That was cool. So something I really like is I'm going to share with you a resource that I like to use for music. So I like to go in here into Epidemic Sounds. It has a beautiful set of libraries that have different themes, and it has this really cool section that I love where I get to hear music that I like. It's like a discover page of sorts. Right? And so that's a bit of what you're hearing here in the playlist. Let's make sure you're still hearing that playlist. Are you hearing that playlist, my friends? I hear it. Awesome. Okay. So let's see. Okay, this is a place I love finding soundtracks, but also sound effects. So say I want to look for a sound effect that sounds kind of like the glitter. Ugh, I'm a little bit afraid because sometimes these swooshes sound really fun, intense. Okay, not quite it. We want like a glitter effect, so I don't know if that's as easy to find. I like looking for words like magic. So that. Right, so that's very experimental. And so those are the type of effects that I would probably introduce. I like this one. I actually think I have this one, the wind chime. So let's go look for it here. Let's go to, I like having them in my sound effects. I have a lot of things I like keeping organized, and some that I'm trying to find a methodology for, right? So let's see, do I have that swoosh? Ooh, this is a cool swoosh. This one's a little bit more intense. So maybe I don't have that one. So let's go in here and download it back to, which one was it? This one? All right, so download that, and I'm gonna save it back. Where's my download folder? Here it is, and I'll save it in here. Great. And now we can do a couple things. We can directly drag it. Is that one? No, it's this one. It's cute. So I'm going to come out here, and right where the glitter happens, I want to introduce that. So I might need more than one audio track now. So let's add a track. And that's going to be our sound effects track. And bring that in. It's going to come in a little bit louder than we want it to be. So let's call this track, double click it. And I always double click the name because that's usually how it works in the Finder. But it doesn't work in Premiere. I wish that was the case. I have to right click and hit rename and call it SFX, sound effects. And just like we did before, we're going to go, if you've been sticking around this long, thank you. And thank yourself because you're learning a lot, okay? So if we have the sound effects labeled, we should be able to find it pretty quickly in our audio mixer. So where's our audio mixer? Here it is. All right. So audio track mixer. We need the audio track. So we have main audio, and then we have SFX. And we can lower the volume of anything we drop into that track. And that way it's a little bit less loud. Let's go down here. I'm really hoping y'all can hear the desktop audio, because that sounds wonderful. If not, I just created the sound effects for you. Okay, I think I want another, whoa. I think I want to keep my wow, reserve it for this moment. I think this moment is much more wow to me, because I actually get to see it. Yeah, so we're gonna move that over. I'll write the word yay there, something like that. I'm not gonna be a wordsmith right now. That takes a lot of silence and thoughtfulness for me. It's hard to multitask, reading or writing. But that feels, yeah, doesn't that fit better? Oh, but we didn't drag our audio. I think our audio was very primal to the effect. So let's pull that over. I'm gonna say, let's remove this here, and I'm gonna say, yay. I mean, honestly, I was so happy. We ran down the stairs to make sure, because you know when the mail gets lost? This is not the mail you want to get lost. Okay, so there at the end, I think I want to include maybe 2 more clips. I think this clip is interesting, but it's not satisfactory enough to really give it that, wow, that was so neat. So maybe a few close-ups might do the trick. I do have in here a close-up, so let's see. We have a close-up folder in here, where I actually did a bit of a macro close-up. So let's see how close-up these are. How much I like them. All right, let's bring in that close-up folder. I think it grants review. So we can do at least, the key here is to do at least a set of 3. 3 makes it feel like a story. So if we can do a compilation of 3 perspectives of the same B-roll, it can be helpful to make it feel like complete. So let's drag in that close up, and you can see there it's in its own group. And I think it was this one here I liked. Ooh, I love that zoom focus pull that I did right here. So and you can see how the artist speaking, O, which is my podcast, by the way. This is your artist speaking. I think it starts right here. And O. All right, let's drag that in. That's a close-up. How many close-ups do we use? I love this one I made. It's really interesting. So let's try this one. So it's it rotates. It was a manual rotation, so do not strangle me, because I was just doing it with my hand. Let's see. Rotate and turn. Ooh, I kind of like that. All right, now let's look at the specs of this particular clip to find out if we have more room for play here. So what I mean by more room for play is if it has 60 frames per second, I can play with it a little bit more and have other effects that I can apply to it. If it's 4K, then I can zoom in even more because we're working on a 1080, on an HD sequence. So if the clip is bigger, then I can zoom in. How do I find that out? We got to go to this metadata section, and it has all of this information. Kind of crazy. But what we're looking for here is frame rate. So 59 by 0.94 is essentially 60 frames per second. So hey, we have some room to play there. And let's see how big it is. Video info, audio input. Am I looking well? Okay, yes. This is already at 1080 by 1920. No room for this to get bigger. So we have one section to play with. Now we can do one of two things here. Now that I'm thinking about it, 60 frames per second could be slowed down at 25%. And we can do that by hitting Command R. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Hit 25% on your speed. So much like we did before, we sped it up. This time, we're going to make it slower. So our clip will essentially double. See that? Saw that here? Boom. It doubled. So let's see what it looks like now. Now that takes a little bit more time. I don't know that I like the slow-mo. Let's go back here to I. See how it looks together. So I don't like the slow-mo. We're going to undo that slow-mo. And we're back to neutral. And this is why we know that. If we're looking at our clip here, the reason why we know we're back to neutral is because our effects symbol here is not activated. Not like this one here. Okay? So that's going to be helpful to know. And so now let's see if I can do something else. So let's go into effect controls. Because it was handheld, I do want to be able to control that moving handheld move. In this case, it doesn't add to our story, right? Like sometimes handheld could be really cool, but not in this case. So let's go into effects and find ourselves in the transform folder. We're going to find auto reframe. Let's delete this search bar right here. And let's go to video effects, transform. It's in this store. It's going to be found in the store. And it's going to be warp stabilizer. Okay? So let's add that warp stabilizer, add it to our scene. And remember what I said before? You saw that it turned red. Now it's back to yellow. But it's just rendering. So like, whoa, that was cool. And it does look so much better than when it was being held. I think I could even enjoy it a little bit longer. So let's see. Whoa, right there. I think it's a good stop. And then it switches over to this. No, it doesn't switch over to that. It might switch over to a different, more open scene. So that could be a cool way to enter this new mood that we have going on here at night. I do think it's a little too long, so right there. It could be a good transition, but potentially not. So let's see how well we do here. I think at this point, we have a lot of mystery. I think it's good to just reveal and then get into close-ups. I think it hesitates a little bit in the beginning, so let's shorten that beginning. And then add a few more here. that give context. I like that close up. Around here. We're almost done, folks. Woo! So excited. All right. I like the light reflecting there. It's a little short snippet. And then I think in B-roll, we actually had a really cool light scene, which I really liked. And it was right here. Now, instead of doing that, you can also preview your files a little bit differently. So I might choose an icon view here, go to B-roll, and now I have this visible in icon format, so I can tell which one it was. And I think it was, which one was it here? Oh, I actually, yeah. All right, time flew by, folks. All right, so I'm gonna do, oh, it's this one right here. I think it was right here and then right there. I love it. And then we're gonna bring that in. All right, let's see what the final look is if I do this. No, I think I liked it the other way. I think this clip is not necessary for the moment, so I'll just hide it for now. See if I change my mind. Okay. Okay, this clip won't be necessary for now. And I'll just add a quick title here at the end using my essential graphics. We're gonna browse to make it feel a little bit more complete and add my outro title, which I like including in all of my reels. And we can include that actually at the top. That feels a little bit more complete. There you go. So let's do that here and change this to a transition so it ends. Command D always gives you a cross dissolve unless you change that default transition. And that looks good. All right, let's watch it from the beginning. Let's first render the in and out points to make sure that our preview of this could be the closest to what all of the effects are and the render quality that everything is. Of course, the best one is at the end. So once you export, you'll get an actual preview. All right, let's see. Wow. All right. We did that together, folks. We made that happen really, really, really quick. Really, really awesome. This was, I think, let's see. This was so fun. This was so fun. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for joining me for this time. And hopefully, you were working alongside me. If not, you were learning some things, taking notes. I know for me, learning from other artists' workflow is very, very helpful. So, again, my name is Cyn Lagos. I host this special live stream here on YouTube called On Visual Language. And I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.